December, I think it is one of the most happiest months for almost anyone because, hey, you all day, all night, all you're thinking is what present I'm going to get. So I thought, why not pick something that is that sets the mood? So we're going to paint this beautiful car where you see this beautiful reindeer inside and some lights because I see lights outside and the Christmas tree coming on it. So we'll just set the mood with the whole holiday theme and paint this beautiful car. And just before we start, as you can see, there is the drawing here, and it may look very complex with the car, but I'll show you how you can actually go ahead and simplify this drawing. If you just take a look at this picture, you can break it down into, if you see, this is more like a rectangle. And then you can add some circles here, some circles here, and then you can just join in. Again, this could be another set of a small rectangle. So this is how you can break down your drawing instead of just going all one in a flow. And in the end, you can just draw the string, and the bulbs are just oval shapes. And for the tree, to make it simple, what I did was I just drew these shapes, which are like obviously like covered with snow. So just draw these shapes, and when we start painting, we can actually add the bushes and the leaves, everything. So that's what I did. I just did some freehand drawing so that it looks very simple, right? So go ahead and do the drawing, and then I'll start with the colors we need and how we're going to start this painting. And I think about you need at least 8 to 10 minutes to draw this thing. So get started. Any questions, please let us know, and I'll be happy to answer it. Get started. I'm sure the colors are very self-explanatory in the picture. You have blue, you have so many other colors, red and green and yellow, and different forms of green and brown and black. It's very simple, but you can also mix your own colors, and you can change the colors. You can change the color of the car. Instead of a blue car, you can make a red car. It's totally fine. So yes, make this your own painting. Make it your own Christmas themed painting. I'm sure you'll be happier that way. Any color car is fine. You can put some ornaments on the tree. Feel free. Anything you like. But I'm going to keep the car blue, just like the photograph. I think it's a very, very fun picture because there's so much going on. Everything is almost hanging and dangling outside the car. Probably has so much stuff inside. Um, I don't know, probably who cut people who cut their own trees. I think it's a very similar situation. Uh, I'm sure it's fun to cut the tree and bring it home. We've never done that. We still use the ones that you can reassemble many times. It's beautiful to see everywhere houses decorated with lights. It's just so beautiful. There's so much life on the streets. I think this month, whole month, and it's just great to drive around and see how every house is decorated. Every area is so different. I live in Aldi, and they're very close to our street. We have a couple of houses. Actually, there are two houses. They always compete with their Christmas decorations, and I think they just go over and beyond. So if you want to really have a good look around, you know, the Christmas decorations, just drive around Aldi. You just love it. It's just beautiful. So another 5 more minutes, guys, and then we'll get started. And please always do let us know what would you like to paint, any special theme you want to paint, any characters, any special subjects that we have previously not covered. That would be great. It would be even a challenge to me because we all like to paint things that we enjoy, but given a challenge sometimes can spark more creativity. So I always like to take challenges. So definitely, if there is anything you think you want this to be painted in a class, then we'll try. Maybe we can simplify it and try it to fit into the schedule. But definitely, always let us know. Write emails, your finished paintings, post it on Facebook, tag us, tag the LCPL, um, everyone. Yeah, you can see there's so many different kinds of shapes in this whole painting. The big shapes, they're the really tiny shapes. So it's always nice to have different brushes if you have them. Otherwise, you can still paint even tiny shapes with a good brush, with a big brush. It's just going to take more effort and slow the process. But I usually use um, big brushes for bigger areas and sometimes even for smaller areas, but really tiny areas like the eye or something, I definitely go for a smaller brush. It just gives me more control instead of messing it up. So, guys, we have another 2 minutes, I guess. I don't want to rush because you guys are drawing, because we cannot start this painting unless you're done with the drawing. Okay, another minute more and we'll get started. Okay, so let's get started. Uh, I'm just going to take a minute to explain the colors that we're going to use. As you can see, this is all blue. So we're going to use a nice turquoise blue. Whatever color you have, it's totally fine. Don't stress if you don't have them. And the reason I'm starting the car or the body first here is because I want this area to dry so that we can add the lights later. Okay. Then we can do the wheels. And while this is drying, or even we can do the tree and then move on to this. So either way is fine, but definitely we'll start with the blue color. So I'm going to take a big mixture of blue. If you are using colors that needs to be, remove out of the tube, definitely take a little bit of extra because you will need it. It's always better to have some extra color on hand instead of always going and mixing it, because that's not just slows down the process. Your paper starts to dry very quickly, and that is frustrating sometimes. So I'm going to go in and just start painting. As you can see, some areas here. I really didn't have like a very exact match of the um, blue that is shown here. So I'll use what I have. And here it's a little lighter. So to make it light, I'm just adding a bit of water, removing some color. Okay. Keep looking at your drawing and or your photograph, whatever the reference photo is, and just start painting the shapes. Okay. Let's not call it a car. Let's not call it anything. Let's just call it a shape. Okay. And the idea is to just fill up these blue areas. And see, I think I forgot a bulb here. So I'll just quickly draw it. And keep working in small sections. Because I already have so much paint on my palette here, I can show it to you. See this blue? I can just dip my brush in it and keep moving. But this makes it really easy. And also it doesn't give me a lot of streaks because this paper will start drying and then you won't like it. Usually if I would do this in my studio for my own personal use, then I would just cover this whole thing with these bulbs with some masking fluid or some tape so that I don't uh, get scared that I'm going to add some paint to it, some blue to it. and I would carefully put all the blue wherever I need it. And by the way, you can also just add a tinge of other kind of blue here and there. I'll tell you why. The reason being, um, in real life, this car would not exactly look like a single color of blue. Uh, it would look very different uh, based on how the light is hitting on it. If there's a lot of light hitting on the car, then it would look lighter. If it's really in dark, then the blue would look darker. So it really matters how the light is hitting. Don't be afraid if your blue is a little dark or light here and there. It's totally fine. There is always going to be a little bit of variation of values or hues. See, I'm not afraid to go a little light here and there. It's fine. And if you see, the small area is a bit darker with little variation of blue. So look, I just went and added a different shade of blue, slightly darker actually, and look how beautiful it looks. Okay. While it's wet, I'm just going to take some blue here, darker, and just add it here. I'm doing it now because it's wet and I can easily blend the colors without ruining it. If yours has started to dry completely, then just wait it out. You can come back and add some color. Okay, so I'll wait now and I'll give you guys 3-4 minutes to catch up. Okay, and then we can move on with, um, yeah, maybe we can work on with these wheels. Okay, because this area is wet and I cannot go on top and start painting. So go ahead, guys, finish this part and then we'll go to the other part. I did miss a small part here. I'm just going to add the blue here. Okay. All right. Let's move on to these wheels. This is really easy actually. I'm going to use some black today. I usually don't use it. I make my own blacks, but I ran out of some colors to make black. So I'm going to use black from a tube. And I'm just going to take it very light. You can see, because the adjacent areas are going to be darker. Same way, I'm going to go in the other wheel here, the smallest circle. Adding a darker area, bit of extra color. That's it. Then we can move on to this outer area. Okay. If you see again, it is very grayish in color. Hint of blue. So I'm going to take some blue, mix it with a little bit of black. Okay. And just go with this. It's very easy to paint simple shapes, right? You just don't have to worry too much about the bends and curves. Okay. And once that is done, we can move on to the other area. Again, keeping it with a little bit of bluish, blackish color. It's kind of a gray with a tinge of blue, actually. Not too much. And then I can leave this here. Maybe slightly darker, some areas. Okay. You guys can catch up and then we'll move on to the next area. I think I went a little too far with this one, but that's okay. You should have had a little bit of white area, but that's fine. We'll try to adjust a little bit of area here. We can move on to the other areas here. Now you can see it's almost like a very purplish, brownish kind of tinge. So I'll see what I have. I think we have brown here. Okay, so we can go here with the same little bit of brown, purple area. And I'm not going in very dark because we have this really, excuse me, black color that's going to be on the way to make it really dark. I'm going to extend this brown here, this purple brown mixture. Okay, same way on the other side. Once you start looking at things in the form of shape, um, you just become very loose, okay? Because you're not concerned about what that part is called, how should I tackle it, how is it supposed to look in real world. It doesn't matter how what the shape is called, whatever it's called. You just have to stick to what you see. That's what art is about. You paint what you see, right? And this is what I see. I see brown, I see purple. And if you see something differently, feel free to go ahead and paint that. Next, we can go ahead and add this really nice black wheels, tires, right? I'm going to take a nice thick black paint. And continue to add the shapes here, make it look real. And I know it did mess up a little bit here, but it's okay. Gonna make do with the shape you have. And continue with the same trend with the other wheel, adding the really dark tire so that it really pops out. In fact, I'm very bad at naming things. Sometimes I just lose sight of what that part is called. Because now I think everything in terms of shape. So if you ask me what this thing is called of that car, I would not know. So it's just simpler for me. I keep it very simple. What is that shape like? Is it like a square, like a cylinder? triangle, simple shapes that we see in our everyday lives. It makes it a lot more easier to connect with things when you see um, everything in the form of shapes, especially portraits, faces. I'll continue to finish this tiny parts on the outside of this car here, which I don't know what are they called? I have no idea. So I'm just going to paint this a bit gray, taking very diluted black, you can say. And that becomes gray in watercolors. You want to lighten something, add water. You want to darken something, add more paint and use less water. That's all it is. You don't have to use a lot of colors. Just play around with how much water and paint you're using. And I think that's where most of us get stuck when we paint in watercolors. Is we find it so difficult because I think we don't play enough. We just want results. We just want to paint like someone else without really playing. And that's where the kids are really good at. They just play. They have fun. So you want to get better at it, just play a lot, which means paint a lot. That's what I mean. Paint, paint, paint. It's the only way to get better. Paint. And I hope during the holidays, a lot of us will really slow down and paint, probably pick up a hobby. I'm sure everybody's working on their new resolutions already. So who knows, painting might be something for next year to consider. I'm going to paint this area as well with a little bit of dark, like black. But art is a great way to start, I would say, any year, any day, any moment, any hour, I would say. And everything is on sale on so many websites like Dick Blick, um, Amazon, and Jerry's Art Drama. They all sell a lot of art stuff. They offer great shipping. So definitely go and buy a lot of art stuff before the holidays end. I buy a lot of art stuff during this time. They're cheaper, you get free shipping, then why not? Okay, great. I think we're quite done with this lower part of the painting. We just have a few tweaks to add here, but I'll let it dry. It's too wet right now. So we can go ahead with the tree right now. Or if it's too wet, then we can stick here. It is too wet for me, so I'm going to stick to the smaller areas. And why not paint the reindeer first? You see the reindeer, it's got some yellow and, or maybe not yellow exactly, it's kind of brown, orange. Uh, this shape here. So keep it really light. Excuse me. Because the other areas are going to be dark. You want it to really have some contrast. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And you can see it's got this red nose here. So I'll give you guys 2 minutes to catch up so that we can all be on the same page. Okay, we'll do the nose. It's going to be light. And if you like, go for a thinner brush. That's also fine. Or a smaller brush. You see there's a small white area in the nose. I won't paint in that area. I'll just leave it as it is. Okay. Same thing. I'll go with a nice darker brown. The adjacent areas. Okay. This is going to be really, sorry, delicate work, but it's going to really make the painting stand out. So go slow here. It's okay. Take your time. I'll give you guys time to catch up. Going slow so that I don't ruin any of those very, very delicate shapes, like the eyes and everything. It's really hard to fix those small shapes. I mean, you can, it just becomes very messy and you don't want it to look messy, right? Like, I think I did mess up a little bit of the eye, but let's see. I think I can fix it. I should have used a smaller brush. Sometimes I just get carried away with my brushes and I just go on. That's okay. Let that part dry. Okay. And we'll move on to the other parts. But I'll give you guys 2 minutes to catch up. We'll take some glue next. Finish this wheel here. So cute, blue color wheel. And like I said, I'll call it a shape. There's nothing more. A thing is just a shape for me. Continuing the same, I see somewhere. I want to finish this two areas. Okay. Keep looking at the areas that you can cover. I can finish this really dark brown area, or the purplish mix. Next, we can let this area dry. There's too much going on here, so we can just let it be. Let's go to the tree now. Okay, now how would we paint this? What I would do is I would start painting um, greens in between these areas that we drew, and later come and add some grays here. Okay, because that's how it's going to be. Let's see. That's one of the way to make it simpler. So I'm going to take some light green, and you can use a little bit of variation, add yellow. Just feel free to make it yours. You can use a really nice light green. That's what I'm going to do. Because other areas are really dry, sorry, wet now, and I'm not ready to add anything. So I'm just going to get in these areas here. And right now I'm just going to play with one color, just one light green. Later we can add darks. Okay. But if you are ready for it, go for it. Add whatever you like. And then you can see that you can just start making it look like uh, small leaves, bushes, whatever you want to call. But just go with the shape, almost like cones, you know. Pointed edges. That's going to be my goal here, to keep some pointed edges so that it looks like a tree. And see, you can also see that there's so much direction variation here. So make sure you have some direction here. Don't make them all look like standing in some form. You'll definitely go ahead and add some darks later. I just want to continue with the same color. Okay, and we'll continue the same thing, adding just fill these gaps between the snow layers that you see, the very light gray layers that you see. Fill the gap. Okay. I'll continue to add, excuse me, the layers here. And you can change the color a little bit. Just give them some direction that they're falling in different areas. give them nice pointed ends so that they look really natural. Pine trees. Okay, keep continuing. And I'll go here now. When I get bored of one area, I just move on. Okay. So we'll just add some big ones, some small ones. We have another step here because we're going to add some darks in the greens to make it look realistic. That's when it'll actually start coming together like a tree. Until then, I do understand it's right now not having quite a lot of shape. That's okay. Okay. I think this is good for now. And then we can always add in something. Okay, I'll give you guys a minute or two to catch up. And then we'll move on to the other layers. I think we just have the lights to do. And then we'll add the details in the tree and then we're almost done.
It's looking really good, Megha.
Oh, thank you.
Let me know if anybody has any questions or comments for Megha, and I'd be happy to pass them along.
Right. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to start building layers on the bulbs. I'm going to start with maybe red, oranges, make sure if you think everything looks red, they are not all red. There is some variation, so keep some variation. I'm just going to leave the middle areas as it is. Wherever I can add yellow, I'm going to add yellow. Even here, it just makes it simpler because I have yellow on my paintbrush. Greens. Okay, blues. Whatever color you think is appropriate for colors, for the lights, go ahead and add them. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then some orange again, or like a dark reddish orange. Even the lights have to look a little different than each other. They all can't look the same. They look too boring and unnatural. Okay, I think this is good. And then we can add the string. If it's dry enough, you don't want to mess up with the colors around it. Really nice dark black. Just these little bit of bumpy things on the bulbs to make it look like they're attached. Okay. And while black is already on my paintbrush, I can just put these areas, cover them up. They're almost black, but you can add a bit of brown if you like. But they're definitely very dark areas. And I don't even know what's coming in from that thing. So I'm just going to call like an area, right? I don't know what's coming out of the window. Okay. All right. What else do we have? We have the eyes of the reindeer to be black. Again, take your very smallest brush. It's a very small area. Okay. I think this red is slightly dull. Maybe you can bump it up. Yeah, that's much better. And Now the area had orange here. I can add that. The ears. Very nice. Okay. I'll just give a minute for you to catch up. Just soften these areas. I'm softening because it has a really, really hard edge. I just want to make it a little soft lights instead of very harsh. And I'm just moving my wet, clean brush over this area. It has to be clean, just very damp, not too wet. Okay, that's good. Okay, what I was left with. Yeah, we do have small other things to do. I'll just take again a very darkish blue mix or black mix, whatever you have. And we can just add these like hyphen or a dash to make it look more real. And add a bit of brown. They don't have to look all same. They can be slightly lighter. Okay. That's good. I think maybe a little dark. Okay. What else are we left with? We can do the tree now. I'm going to take nice dark green. You can also mix a bit of blue to it to make it look a little more darker. If you think it needs to be dark. Okay. And I'm going to get into some of these areas where it's like in these crevices and some of these leaves to make it look different from the other leaves. Okay, not everything has to be touched and make it dark, made dark. Just some, right? You need variation. That's how nature is. Just a few. It has to be dark and nice, okay? Same way. Go on to the other ones. Let's add some darks. So the tree pops out. Okay. I think the tree has come out well. And then we just need a bit of gray here to make it look like snow. You can use your black here, diluted form. It has to be light, okay, guys, because the tree leaves is supposed to really pop out and look. If they're not looking that way, then maybe we can add a little more green. Okay, I think that's good. I think I left a small area here. You can add that. Just maybe some blue here. Look nice. Tad bit of blue here, just to make it look all blended in. Around the bulbs, the lights, we take a little nice pink color and just give it, I don't know, let me see if I can add that. No, it's turning into purple because there's so much blue there. It's okay, I'll just give it some highlight outside. Just to show that, the light just spreading there, bouncing it a little bit. Kind of feel this needs a little bit of pop-up. It's too light. See, the watercolors, sometimes you have to go ahead and add some more color because things turn out light and then you don't like it. They don't look real. So we need a little bit of extra darkness here and there. I think we're almost done because we got almost all the shapes here. In the end, you can just take a bit of black and just define some boundaries, you know. Just to give it some structure. And I think we're done.
That is so beautiful.
Thank you, Lauren.